Welcome back, everyone. The video you're about to watch is part of a live stream series that I do on Twitch where I teach people how to build an Android app from start to finish by building a task management application. I've removed the episode numbers from the videos because it's designed that each one can be consumed individually. Each week, I pick a particular topic or feature and focus on just that for the live stream. If you are interested in watching the full playlist, check out the links in the description below. But if you just found this one and it intrigues you, I hope you enjoy it and let me know what you think. Cool. Thank you for waiting those 5 seconds so I could switch this over for YouTube. Um, let's make an issue to record this work, of course. And let's see here. So we want to exclude Jetpack Compose previews from coverage report. Okay. Uh, Labels, I'm going to give this a tech.that label, I think. So currently, any code related to JT previews um, is included in our coverage report. It should be because this code is never expected to execute under unit tests. So let's exclude that. Okay, so there's the issue. Projects, this can go, we'll call this developer experience. Um, and let's go to our IDE. I'm gonna hide the emulator for this because we won't need it for now. I'm going to go to development, pull, and we'll make a new branch. This is number 111. Nice. So you can check out the TOA 11, 111. Remove. Oh, thanks for coming by, Prince. Yeah, this will be really exciting. Um, Remove previews from coverage. Okay, so let's talk about how we do this. I'm going to pull up some notes on my other monitor real quick because I've already done this in a different project. Um, and this will be really interesting. Dude. Ha. So I think I have the Stack Overflow link. So I Googled this on like if this was even possible. And I ended up on Stack Overflow, as one does. And there's a really interesting commit someone found into the JaCoCo tool that I don't know if I can find this. JaCoCo has this like exclusion thing where basically it matches if an annotation contains the word generated. It could be anything. As long as it contains the word generated, it will be excluded from your report. So you can create your own annotation that has the name like exclude from JaCoCo generated report, annotate specific functions with this annotation, and then it will be excluded from your coverage report. So basically just something like this. So we're going to do that. And it's not hard for us to add, but what I think will be really cool is we'll add it to a couple. I'll show you that this does indeed work. But then we can go look at something we did a long time ago on like an old stream, but we can bring this back, is the ability to write custom lint checks in our applications. And the reason I think that's helpful is because we could write a custom lint check that checks for every function that uses the Jetpack Compose preview parameter that it also has this exclude annotation. So that's a way of guaranteeing in my codebase, anytime I add a new preview, that I also make sure it's excluded from coverage reports. So that would be really cool. That way I wouldn't have to remember to add it, but this way it would just always be there. So that's what we're going to do in this sort of second half of the stream. So first thing we're going to do is my favorite thing. We're going to take this idea. I'm going to pull it from another project. We're going to copy and paste that code. So I'm going to go into our app source main. I think I'm just going to put this at the top level here. I'm going to call this exclude from JaCoCo generated report and paste in this annotation. And I put a note in here. This is the same comments from my other project. So, pro tip, if you ever steal code from the internet, which we all do, but if it's like possibly complex, I love putting links back to that resource. Whether I link to the Stack Overflow answer or I'm linking to a blog post, like I want some way to connect this idea, which is not mine, which means I don't have like a super duper deep understanding of it. I want to give myself or any other developer a chance to understand where this resource came from. That's my first pro tip. We link to Stack Overflow. But I just put a note. Anytime we have a function that we want to exclude from our coverage report, we can add this annotation to it. And I made a note. We should not use this lightly. Use it for things that are relevant to developers, like Jetpack Compose previews. Do not use this to hide your application code, because you could totally use this to gamify your test coverage, like percentage. Don't do that. But it's useful for the things that you intend, that are expected to not be covered. So how do we use it? Well, if we go back to our task list item that we was the one that caused us issues before, um, I just go to that function and I put exclude from JaCoCo generated report. And on top of it, just like that. And I can do the same thing in this preview parameter provider. Oh, maybe I can't. Because maybe it's only used for functions. Okay, well, for now, we will just use it on the functions. I think all I would have to do is, um, oh, I can change like can I add a target? Is it like that? Okay, this is how we could do it, where we could also annotate classes. Um, so I'm going to, I, the first thing I want to do is verify to y'all that this works. So I'm going to commit this and I'm going to start a pull request, which will trigger all my coverage stuff in the background. And while we're doing that, I'm going to talk through the custom lint check process, and how we can make sure that all of our preview functions have this. So we'll say adding exclude from JaCoCo generated report annotation. Um, and yeah, while the GitHub actions are running in the background, we can keep going. But I think it's important to get our tests running now because that takes like 10 to 15 minutes. But we'll be able to see via coveralls that this did in fact increase test coverage, which would be cool. Um, let's go over to the project. This annotation allows us to exclude Jetpack Compose previews from our test coverage reports. This can go under TechNet, and the project will be developer experience. And let's create the pull request. It'll also fail because I didn't update my stream history markdown file, but that's fine. The code checks should run. So I think I wrote my own blog post on lint checks. Let me check my website here. Because I prefer to use like my own resource if I have. Um, pretty sure I did this. Okay, wow. February of wow, over a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, 2 days, February 22nd, I wrote about enforcing custom view usage with Android lint, which was a similar idea. I was like, if I have like a specific type of button that I use in my project, I wanted to write a lint rule that said anywhere I tried to reference like an Android button, replace it with my button. That was a thing that I did. But um, with that, let's talk about it. So in mine, this was a deeper dive into um, the issue I was trying to resolve, but I did put links up here to. Let me share this in chat, by the way, so y'all have this. Um, I did put links to the resources that were helpful to me, um, which are like this one by Varun, which is writing custom Android lint rule. And the first thing that I'm looking for here is we have to create a library module for lint. Um, and the class name needs to be lint registry. And that's basically a way for lint to like identify these checks that you're making. So let's stop here and let's do this first step. Um, we will go to our project. We will do new module. Um, is it Android library? No, it's Java or Kotlin library. We can call it lint checks. Um, let's do TOA.lint. We'll call the class lint registry and finish. Add that, and while that's building, let's look at the next thing. So there are some dependencies that we need to add, which um, we can make compile only. And the answers are basically the Kotlin standard library, of course, as well as the lint API and lint checks dependencies. So let's get those over. Um, uh, oh, it's KTS. Nice. Yes, there's nothing here. So dependencies, throw this in here. Looks like there's a newer version now. Ooh, a lot newer. Okay. Let's do a sync. I didn't add. Interesting. Do I need to add Kotlin? Um, and I think there's another way to do it. How do these projects do it? Um, oh, those don't have it. Maybe I don't know if I need because I'm using Kotlin Gradle script. I don't know if I need like the Kotlin implementation. Um, so let's talk about the next thing. So this is where the blog post is going to differ from my project because so a detector is a class that basically performs your checks. Oops, let me make sure this isn't an important message. Um, a detector is basically what performs your checks, and there are different types of detectors. Like a layout detector runs over layout files, and so this is where their blog post is going to sort of move off in a parallel direction from ours because we're not trying to write lint checks for XML. Um, but what we want to do is instead use, let me pull it up over here. Um, I'll show you what we're going to use in a second. Let's go into the source and let's create it. So our detector, let's call it missing exclude preview annotation detector. That's what we can call this. And this will implement the detector, and I think this is a base class. Um, oh, interesting. That's weird. Add library dependency and import. Why don't you? Oh boy. Um, huh. Why doesn't this work? I think I might. I always run into stuff when it comes to using these Kotlin Gradle scripts that I don't know if they're always helpful. Um, oops. So let me just pull up my notes on my other screen, trying to make sure I do this right. I might switch this to a regular Gradle file and just copy what my other project does. Um, yeah, I'm gonna copy what I'm gonna delete this. Um, and I'm going to put in what my other project does, which is just a regular build.gradle file, uh, because that'll be a lot easier. So most of it starts the same, um, except we don't have lint here. I'm just going to put the number right here. That what it is, 30.1.2. Or actually, I think this project has, it does have a versions.gradle file, so let's just put lint in here, 30.1.2. And let's do a sync now. And this should work. Oh, could not get unknown property Kotlin version. Okay, let's figure out. Oh, because I don't have an underscore in this project. What computer do I use? I have a MacBook Pro. I believe it's not like an M1. I believe it's a 2018 model. Um, yes, 15-inch 2018 model. Um, could not resolve Android Tools Lint API 30.1.2. Uh, Interesting. Why not? Let's see what the lint version is. Make sure I have this right. Uh, I can't figure out what the latest lint version is. Um, or why it's saying it could not resolve 30.1.2. Let's see what this project does. Interesting. So my other project, I also commented out 30 for some reason. So in my other project, I use 27.1.2, which is probably older, but if it works, I'm gonna use it for now. Maybe there's something in the later major versions of lint that is different from how I've used it in the past. Okay, build successful. So now we can keep moving. So now, indexing, but still indexing. You really can't. Oh my god, my IDE is killing me today. I was so excited for this, and it's just getting in my way. Aha, there we go. Okay. So we can implement detector, and the other interface we want is detector.uast scanner. I forgot what that stands for. It's like Universal Abstract Syntax Tree or something like that. Um, but yeah, it's basically saying like it wants to run through our syntax tree uh, and run some detections. But now that I've waited this long, let's check and see if our coverage reports have completed. No, looks like those are still running. Um, okay, so what needs to happen? Well, one thing that the blog post we're looking at will talk about is you also need to reference like something called an issue. which is like the report that gets created when lint finds a problem. So let's make one and let's talk about what gets included in it. So this can go in a companion object. And let's do internal val. We'll call it issue missing exclude preview annotation. This is issue dot create. And there's a few things here. So first give it an ID. Let's call this missing exclude preview annotation. Same thing we've been using. It needs a brief description. So this is like, I guess, a short form of what this lint check is doing. For ours, we could say Jetpack Compose previews should be excluded from JaCoCo reports. But the longer explanation would be any methods annotated with @preview should also have the @exclude from JaCoCo generated report annotation. We can fix that typo. We need to give it a category. In this case, I would say category that. Oh, there's a custom lint checks. All right, let's use that. Severity. I'm gonna call this. Now, this you don't have to make it error, but I want to make it error because I want to know when I do this. And then implementation. This is like, what does this do? I don't know exactly what this does, but I think this is just a way of referencing the detector itself. So this is where we put like the detector, and then we give it a scope, and here we would do Java file scope. And that needs a priority. I don't know what this means. I have 10 in my other project. We could look at the documentation to see what that priority means. Let's check real quick. Um, Priority, a number from 1 to 10, with 10 being the most important / severe. So obviously, I treated this as like the most important thing in the world. It's an error, it's 10 most important. You don't have to do that. You can decide based on your lint check how important this is to you. Um, you know, those specific details are less important than, the benefits of a custom lint check, and why we're adding one. So that's the issue. Let's check on our pull request. Is it still going? Uh, the tests are still running. Okay. Um, so now we can implement our detector and go through, how it makes the checks that we want to. The first thing I would do, though, is let's specify the sort of information we need to run these checks. So remember, we're working with annotations, and specifically, those annotations have packages, just like classes or interfaces do, that we want to make sure we're checking for specific annotations here. So what I'd like to do is make it easy for us to reference that by using like constant values for those annotations. So here we're going to say the compose preview annotation is androidx.compose.ui.tooling.preview.preview, right? And the same thing for our annotation, except this is not going to be com.capsule, but this will be com.adamcneely.toa. And I think that's where I put it actually. Yeah. So we have our hard codes or our constants for each annotation. The next thing we can do is begin writing this words, this detector. So the first thing I know we need to override is we need to give it applicable UAST types. So this is basically like, what are the elements that are applicable to this check? So for example, in this case, we can return list of uMethod class.java. And this, I think, basically says like, it's only going to do these checks on methods. So certain other syntax items like classes or like specifically like file scopes, function calls, stuff like that, it's going to skip over this. Now I think in ours, as I mentioned earlier, we would sometimes want to annotate classes as well. Um, but let's say the lint check is specifically for these preview functions. We could modify this check to also check the like preview parameter provider classes, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's make this just on our preview functions. So we did that. Um, we also need to create, I guess, we need to create this element handler class. So let's talk about what this does. So we can call this preview method element handler. And it takes in this Java context, and this extends uElementHandler. But this is basically um, what's going to do all of our element checks for us. So this has a bunch of calls like visit annotation, visit call expression, visit class, visit declaration. There's a function call for each of these sort of element operations that can occur by lint. For ours, we care about visiting a method. So anytime we visit a method, this is where we want to do our checks. So the first thing we can do is say, is this a preview method? And we find that by getting our node, checking has annotation, and then we give it the compose preview annotation. So we can also say is excluded, being does this node have the annotation exclude from JaCoCo annotation? And what we want to say is if this is a preview method and it's not does not have the excluded annotation, then we want to report an issue here. So now we can say context.report, the issue being our issue we just created. Location is, we can do context.getLocation node. This is basically how it generates like the line number. We use that context that was given to us, and using that node, we figure out the location. And then also we can give it a message. So we could provide a custom message about this situation. Instead, we will just use the issue, and then we can get explanation, and this will be text format. Are we back? I think my stream died, but I think I'm back. Um, it looks good on Twitch. Okay, it did die. Okay. Um, that's unfortunate. I'm recording again, so let me back up a little bit for the YouTubes. I'm sorry that happened. Um, I believe, Soy Llamas, did I start? I'm pretty sure I started this element handler class before it died. Um, but let's revisit this. So this element handler class is what lint will use to basically visit all of the elements in our syntax tree. And we override the functions of what elements we actually care about. So in this case, it's just visiting a method. It's when we visit a method, we want to perform this custom lint check. And what we do is we check, does this method have our compose preview annotation? And then we check, does this method have the exclude from JaCoCo annotation? And what we say is, if this is a preview method, and it does not have the excluded annotation, then we want to report an issue. We report this missing preview annotation issue. The location is basically where this function call exists. That's how it gets like the line number and things like that. And then the message being just like the explanation of what went wrong. And now that we've created this element handler, the last thing we need to do is call this create UAST handler, and we can return preview method annotation element handler with that context. And this is it for writing the detector. So now we have something that can uh, basically perform those lint check operations. So I think there's a little more we have to do before we can actually test this out. Um, Before we get it to run, let's go back now that our tests are working, and let me show y'all that this did in fact work. And we can see here, coverage increased 0.4% after adding this annotation. And if you look deeper into our coverage report here, we can see that for this task list item file, the coverage did go up because these files down here are no longer included. Why is this still red? Huh. I don't think this is supposed to be red. Um, Interesting. That might just be a little buggy, but we can see that the annotation was in fact working. Also, it looks like sound alerts came back up. Hopefully y'all caught a lot of that. I verified that I was recording, so I know that I'll be able to stitch this together properly for YouTube, but if anyone in chat missed anything about this detector class, and you want me to revisit this detector class, let me know. But I'm going to take this detector now um, and see how we can use it in our app. So I'm going to go back to Varun's blog post, and I think there's a couple more things that I'm missing here that are like registering the issue. Ha. So one is in that lint registry class, we need to give it a list of issues that are supported by this lint registry. So we go in here, and I'm basically just going to paste this. But here, this gets replaced with uh, missing exclude preview annotation detector that issue. Let's import a bunch of stuff here. Let's suppress this unstable API usage thing. Cool. So that sets up our lint registry. And I think there's one thing about registering our issue registry. Yeah, this part. Um, so let's copy this over. This, we need to, in our build.gradle, we need to add this towards the bottom. But we need to put in like our actual package here. So this is com.adammcneely.toa.lint, I believe is what I used. Yes. Um, so that creates a lint registry, and then I think all we need to do is then go over to our app build.gradle and do lint checks project lint check. I just throw that out at the top. Let's do a Gradle sync. And what I will then do is we'll go to Gradle, we'll go to app, I think verification. Yep. And I'm going to run lint on this project. So this might be slow. Lint can definitely be slow sometimes. So we'll have to fill some fluff, but fingers crossed, this will throw up a bunch of lint errors and tell me portions of our application that have previews without the exclude annotation on them, and we can correct that. And then I'll also show you how we can tweak something that's in my IDE settings to make sure I never forget this again. But that will be a thing for later. Let's get this running first. I just noticed we are so close to 700 followers on Twitch, which is amazing. Thank you all for that. That means a lot. Um, If you're watching and not following, please do. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, !YouTube, to go follow over there. Cool. So lint found 17 errors. Here's one. I'm surprised it didn't show me the full list. Let's add this. So add that exclude here. Why didn't it give me the full list? Let's look at the full text report file here. Ugh. Okay, this is not user friendly. But I can see a list here. So add task content, login content is the next class. So I'm just going to use that text file that I pulled up to look at files where this happened, and then go in and update all of them. It'll probably be easiest to find it that way. Whoops. One of them was also primary button. So we'll add that there and there. Secondary button has a preview. So we add that there, and we add that there. There was TOA date picker. So we add that. We add that. There's also, we've got our TOA text field. That's, whoops, TOA text button. That's not what I wanted to, but that one needs it as well. TOA text field. This one's going to have a few previews, I think. Chris, thank you for the raid. Welcome, everyone. How's everyone doing? How was your stream? We are currently doing a bunch of copy and pasting. French Vanilla, thank you for the follow. We're currently doing a bunch of copy and pasting. I'll pause and I'll tell y'all what we're working on. So, we're just having a chill stream. My stream actually died like 10 minutes ago and I just came back up. Working on a Docusaurus site. Nice. But we are in the middle of doing some cheat codes on our test coverage reports. Not really a cheat code, but Smoking Ears, thank you for the follow. One of the sort of problems with the test coverage in this Android project I'm working on is we have a lot of these preview functions. We're using Jetpack Compose, Android's new declarative UI framework, where all of our UI work is written in Kotlin. And we can write these preview functions that we can then see over on the side of our IDE, what something is going to look like. But what we're running into in our project is when I run a test coverage report, because that's in like our app module and it's in the same file as the UI component itself, it gets included in like that test coverage report. So sometimes I see problems with like my coverage went down because I added previews. And that's not really accurate. These shouldn't be included. So there are ways we could maybe move these previews into different files, but we looked at a way to exclude things from our JaCoCo report, which we can do by basically creating this annotation and throwing it on top of a preview function. Oh my god, thank you for the gifted sub. You're amazing. Thank you for the support. So we added this annotation so that we could get rid of our, I guess, incorrect coverage because of these previews. But then we went even further and we went into writing a custom lint check for our project that basically runs over all of our methods and checks like, whoops, oh god, keyboard slipped, and checks like, is this a preview method? Does it have the excluded annotation? And then we check for a disconnect. If it's a preview and it's missing that excluded annotation, we report a lint error. So now we can make sure that anytime I add these previews, I make sure they're excluded from this coverage report. So it's kind of like a cheat code. It feels like one, but at the end of the day, like that's accurate. It shouldn't be included, right? So that's what we did. So now we're just hunting all those errors down and trying to fix them. Uh, I got through a bunch of them, but uh, yeah, so that was interesting. I thought it would be cool to show off like building a custom lint check. I think there's a lot of interesting use cases for that in Android. Um, this one maybe a little hacky, but it's helpful. So yeah, we did that. We did some small things on we largely work on a task management application here every Wednesday. You can check out the link there. We did a couple small UI tweaks to this app earlier, and then I just kind of went down the register. I thought about it because in my project I have, which is pretty cool, something we did recently. So I have these coverage report setups in our project that every pull request um, runs a test coverage report and then reports that to this tool called Coveralls, which gives me like coverage information on the project. So I can see like the trend of my coverage over time. I can see like what the change was in our most recent build. I can, go into a list and I can see like coverage by file. And so that's what I realized what happened. I made this pull request and I got the failure because Coveralls left a comment on this other pull request saying, hey, your coverage decreased. And when I clicked into why, I noticed it was because I added some of this preview code. And that sent me down this rabbit hole of saying, well, that's not really accurate. So now we're here. So, glug or not, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. Um, cool. We got an error. So now I'm just trying to figure out where all the other errors are at. Task list also needs to have the preview annotated. Um, let's do that. I know that lint supposedly has a way to like autocorrect certain issues. There should be a way for me to basically add like a keyboard shortcut to make it add this annotation, but I don't fully understand how to hook into that yet, so I didn't do all that. And then task list content also needs this. So let's do that. And I think if I did this right, this might be the last one. Um, so let's check. Let's go back to terminal. Let's do Android lint again. We'll see how this goes. I still haven't figured out how to talk through the dead air of waiting for Gradle to do stuff, so I'm sorry for all the new people who feel like I'm super quiet. I'm really good at talking while I code and making sure I'm clear about every step, and then I wait for something to build, and all of a sudden I forget how to talk. Build successful, nice. So let's go ahead and commit all this code. Um, and we can say here, what did we add here? Um, adding custom lint check to ensure preview functions are excluded from coverage reports. Also need to update my stream history file. So cool thing for all of you who are just joining. Something that I do on this project, if you check it out on GitHub, is there's a file in here for like stream history, and I record every stream I work on, what I work on. So at the bottom is this long chronological list, but up here we have these collapsible sections. So if you're interested in seeing like what we did on a particular day, you could view like streams by day. Or if you're looking for like a hot topic, so like if you want to see like a time we worked on test coverage or multi-module app structure, I like have all this sorted out. With the exception of today's, I'm still sort of making pull requests, but definitely check this out if you're interested in seeing some of the stuff we've done in the past. Um, but again, with this theme that I like of developer tooling and trying to enforce the things that I'm likely to forget about, uh, I can show you this. I have a pull request check through a tool called Danger that makes sure I always modify this file. So if you look at this, Danger errored and said, please update stream history with relevant information. It is a markdown file. Let me show you how I did that. Um, well, let me add a list here so we can say custom, or what to say, hide previews from coverage. Wait, why am I doing all the typos? Hide previews from coverage with custom lint check. Um, so the way that works in Markdown is, and I don't know if this is like any site or specifically like GitHub, you use this opening tag of details. So this is like setting up the collapsible section. You have a summary tag, which is like the title. So this is what you click on. And then everything below the summary tag is the expanded section. And then you have this closing details tag here. So that's how it gets rendered. Like, I closed it already. So that's how it gets rendered. You see streams by date. That was the summary. And then when I click on it, I see everything that was below the summary in there. So this works on GitHub Markdown files. I don't know, about other platforms, but yeah, it's really cool. Um, so I found that that is super helpful, especially as I've gotten near, stream number 21, that dumping a chronological list in people's faces wasn't helpful this late in the project. So I wanted it to be that people could find like specific things that they were looking for. And with each one, if you click on this, with each one, I have like a description. I stopped putting the date because I don't know if that actually helps people. Um, but there's all of the pull requests that were made during that stream. I usually put notes if there are external resources that I use, and then links to the YouTube videos. All of these VODs get saved, and then I upload them to YouTube. So exclamation point YouTube in the chat if you're not subscribed. You can find all of the recaps as well as some YouTube specific content over there. Um, it's a lot of work, but it's I think it's important. I do this. Uh, we're working on this. I guess I could show off the app a little bit while I'm talking to everyone. This task man. Hold on, let me commit this code before I go down that rabbit hole. By the way, um, I'll show you all the app that we're working on. I know it's a lot, but this app is something I work on as like an educational purpose. I like, sure, it's something that I'll eventually want to use for myself. But part of my live streaming every Wednesdays is purely for like education. I want to teach people Android, get people inspired about Android, try out some new technologies with people, all that stuff. And because of that, I try to take care of this organization because I know that. So I stream. I know like Chris streams way more than I do, but I stream once a week for like 2 to 3 hours each week. And I stream kind of late US time, so that limits how many people can view. So I'm just trying to make sure like people have a way to access this content, even if they can't make it live. Uh, and I'm grateful that I've found like cool dev experience ways to like enforce that through like all those pull request checks to like make sure I'm always updating this file and stuff. Um, and stuff like this. Like this is my lint check telling me that this line is too long. Um, I guess we can just split it up. Or I might just exclude it here. Let's just do this, honestly. Um, or not suppress max line length. I think it's fine in this case. If it was in some application code, I might take that detect check more seriously. Um, but I'm not going to worry about it for that particular line. Um, yeah, so cool. I think I'll probably wait till these pull requests wrap up, and then I might. Uh, I do have another hour, but I don't really know what else I want to work on tonight, so I might wrap it up after I get these pull requests going. But let me show off the app for the new folks who want to see kind of what we're working on, because we're not very far into this project yet. Um, well, you can ignore these. One of the things we did before y'all joined is we worked on input sanitization so that I couldn't create tasks like this. Um, but what I've got is basically just right now, all it is like a task management app. I can create a task, you know, I can pick like a description, a date that I want to do it, and I just submit, and I have that task, and I can mark them all as done, and they move down into the list below. One of my goals for this that I haven't really gotten to emphasizing yet, um, you may have seen the acronym TOA, and the idea was it stands for Tasks of Affirmation. And I wanted to make it like a wholesome task management app that didn't really focus on just like organization and you must get these things done and like you must feel guilty because you haven't gotten these tasks done. Like I wanted to make it simple, fast to use. I want to update the copy to have like uplifting messages. Like here I wrote like you've completed everything you need to do today. But I've been thinking like this should be more something like congratulations on completing your tasks. Go rest or something like that. And like when I'm done with this, I envision like I don't want it to be the kind of app that like notifies you saying like, "Hey, you still haven't done this. This is still overdue." Like I want it to be like helpful and like try to show like there's like compassion behind this stuff because being organized is hard and getting shit done is hard. Um, and that's kind of why we have this date split up here, so that instead of seeing a long running list of tasks, the idea of this input is you have something you need to do and you try to schedule it. And ideally, then you keep your schedule each day down to the specific task that you want to do for that day. So I can just, click through and be like, oh, tomorrow I only have one thing to do. Great. Tomorrow I knock it out of the park. Like that's kind of what we're going for. That's really all we have so far. There is like a login screen to this app that is like hidden because I wanted to focus on the home screen development. For the first several weeks, we worked on that um, home screen. But yeah, that's what we're working on. It's been a lot of fun. One of my favorite things about this project that I could show off is like one of the newer things we did is um, when I said we like to experiment with new technologies here, uh, this app actually uses the new material theming from Google. So if I were to pick, you saw the blue there, if I were to pick a different background that emphasized a different color, let's say this like pinkish color, um, and if I make that my system background, right? So in Android 12, a lot of things will start using that color for us. So if I open this up, is it not working? Is it using blue as an accent here? It might be. Okay, that's a bad example. Let's pick green. Green is definitely different from blue. So let's find a green background. Oh, let's look at this one. I actually like this. This is nice. If we use a more green theme on our phone, then yes, when I open this up, you can see that the tint of the app changed dynamically to meet that. Um, Everywhere. And actually, what's really cool is this. I should show off the login screen um, because uh, the login screen also has a really cool. Oh, we're not gonna do that. Um, the login screen also has a really cool implementation of this, which even some of you who are regulars might not have been here since the beginning, so you might not know about this. But this checkmark icon on my phone uh, that you see, oops, that you see on the left here. This was, I got this designed by someone on Fiverr, and they sent me the SVG, And what we worked on the login screen where we have this icon is we basically split up that vector to use the dynamic themes so that even on the login screen, you're going to see this check mark in the front that is also dynamically themed to whatever your phone is. So this is like the green check mark, but again, if I were to go back to backdrops and go with like the blue background that I really like, and set this again, we'll see now the check mark is like blue with the accent of purple, and so that's cool. I love showing that off. I really like the dynamic theming that has come with Android 12. I know a lot of people think that like no one's going to use it because like why would brands use it, and that's totally fair. But as someone who is not a brand, I think for like indie apps that, well, people like me who are not good with color science or design, it's great. But also to just have something that feels personalized to you. Like, I think that's really cool. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this. So, um, that's been fun to play around with. Uh, yeah. So, that's the app. Hope y'all like it. Hope y'all are interested. Maybe some of y'all can come around. So, it is Thursday today. Because I had a scheduling conflict, but typically I stream every Wednesday night starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, yeah, cool. So our sanitized task input PR from earlier is passing. So I'm going to go ahead and squash and merge that. Um, that means updating. That means this PR is going to have merge conflicts with the stream history file. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Um, like that. Wolfgang Blitz, thank you for the follow. And finish this. And then I think we'll probably call it here. We might wait, make sure this PR passes. I'm also happy to keep chatting with all of you. Oh, sorry. I was about to sneeze. Uh, but I had a really great time tonight. I hope some of y'all had a good time, had fun learning things. If anyone, like I said, I'm sorry the stream died in the middle. So if anyone wants me to revisit any of what we did today, we worked on hiding the buttons. We worked on. I literally just merged the pull request. We worked on hiding the buttons. We worked on sanitizing the task input, and we worked on excluding stuff from our coveralls. Do I use coveralls at work? Yes. So that is where I heard of it. Our company has like a subscription plan with them, and they wanted all of the repos within the company to use it. So that's where we started using it, and I thought it was really interesting, the dashboard and what it can teach us about code coverage, especially being able to see. I really like just being able to see how it changes over time, being able to dig into it by file, the same way that it shows. Uh, let's look at one that's half and half. Um, like you can get this from JaCoCo out of the box, but being able to see like the red and green coverage right here inside the source file, so I can see what is covered and what is not. Um, do I know any alternatives? Unfortunately, no. I've never used any other tools like this before. At my previous companies, like test coverage was not an important metric to them. So I haven't. I'm sure they exist, but I don't know what to offer there. Um, it's also like configurable to where you can set will like leave comments on pull requests, which is what we do. Um, you can set like a threshold for failure. So you could say if your code coverage goes below 60%, you should fail the pull request. You can also set a coverage decrease threshold. So some people would say like it's noisy if coveralls is like your code coverage decreased by 0.01%. Like, oh, so what? So you could set this as like, okay, well, as long as it doesn't decrease by more than 0.05, that's fine. Like, that's the sort of thing that you can configure here. Um, so, I like it. Yeah, we'll hang out, we'll chat until this we'll wait for these GitHub actions to finish. I can merge this pull request and then we can call it a night. I see Nightbotch is pointing it out. Also, if you aren't following the YouTube channel, please do. It's where I post all the stream recaps and other YouTube specific content. Um, I split last week's stream up into 3 videos because it was so long. So the first part went out today, but then tomorrow and Saturday, the remaining parts will come out. Um, so definitely check that out. Last week we worked on setting up a multi-module structure for the application and some of the benefits of having multi-modules in an Android app. Um, so that was cool. I learned a lot from that. Um, I think that would be an interesting one for people to go back and watch. Let's just, I know they say like watch pot never boils, but we could just watch the logs here so we'll know when it's done. Oh, it's like just starting. That's fun. Also, hi, WebShark. Thank you for coming by. Um, oh, I have not tried the developer preview of 13 yet. I want to. I have a couple extra devices I was going to try to flash it on. Maybe for next week, or definitely soon. Or at the very least, I think, can't you get it on an emulator now? Um, I think the answer to that is yes. Uh, create device. You want someone else to do it before you do. Oh yeah, you can download tiramisu. I know that they go with desserts, so I like that they said tiramisu. I don't think they've ever said that before, but I um I feel like they should have just said Android T stands for Android 13. Like it's so dumb, but I thought that was really funny because I think like dumb shit like that is really funny. But like they could have just trolled a bunch of people. But like, oh yeah, Android T is Android 13. Like it's like it aligned so perfectly. Like, you know what I mean? Um, Although what's cool about 13 Dev Preview that I do want to try is on the home screen here. So right now, only Google apps can do this dynamic app icon or like themed app. Oops, sorry, themed app icons, which is why mine has orange on it still. Because orange is the theme if you like the default theme of this. But I would love this to also match like my background theme, and apparently that's something you can configure in the Android 13 preview. So I'm really excited to play with that, especially because it sounds like it should be easy. It sounds like you just need to create like a certain launcher XML file that is like forgot the word for it. But yeah, it should be possible. Um, yeah, let me find the post on that real quick. Um, and cool. So let's run this. Hopefully, I don't like fry my computer trying to do all this stuff. It's already doing a lot. But let's find this. So Android 13 dev preview. Cool. Themed app icons. Aha, here we go. So, starting with Android 13, users can opt into themed app icons. Okay, so to support this feature, your app must provide a monochromatic app icon and point to it from the adaptive icon element in the manifest. If a user has enabled the themed icons toggle on their device, the system uses the coloring of the user's chosen wallpaper and theme to determine the tint color, which it then applies to the monochromatic app icon. And then there's specifications like it needs to be a vector drawable, make sure the logo fits within this area. Um, yeah, kind of like our notification icons. Also, I imagine it's not much different than how we do like adaptive icons now, where it already has to be a vector drawable if you want to support like adaptive icons for like the square and circle and everything. Um, oh, interesting. This might actually be of interest to you. Most apps can reuse the vector drawable for notifications. So that's really cool already. Um, nice. And there's an example of Google's here. Cool. Let me share this in chat, by the way, if anyone else wants to follow along. Um, yeah, what else is in here that I don't know? There's quick settings placement API. Oh, I've heard this is the thing. So quick settings in the notification shade is a convenient way for users to change settings or take quick actions without leaving the context of an app. So I think that's this, right? Like that's like all these buttons at the top for like pay and do not disturb. I think these are all like system based, but it sounds like whoops. They're adding developer hooks for that. That's kind of what I got from this. Um that's cool. Ooh, per app language preferences. That's cool. I didn't hear about that one yet. Yeah, Android 13 has a lot. I'm also really interested in this photo picker here. So, Android 13 includes a new photo picker experience. When your app launches the photo picker, users select specific images and videos to share with your app, such as profile pictures, instead of giving your app access to view the entire media library. The photo picker provides enhanced privacy for users because your app doesn't need to declare any runtime permissions. In addition, the photo picker provides a built-in, standardized UI for apps, which creates a more consistent user experience. It doesn't support capturing new pictures. That makes sense. But I feel like this sums up one of my like favorite things to say as a developer is like every time Android works on a new privacy feature, as a user, I'm like, yes. And as a developer, I'm like, like it's like this is just another like dealing with photo pickers hard enough. Although maybe this API will be nicer than launching the gallery and accepting a URI back. So that's possible. Um, but like I remember when they came out with Android or runtime permissions, and I was just like, "This is a lot of work." But like as a user, I love runtime permissions. But like as a developer, it was a little bit of work to get that working. Um, nice. Our test passed on this exclude JaCoCo report PR, and then if we want to see how much we truly cheated, um, hold on, this needs to be updated because we definitely did more than that. Um, hold on. Our coverage definitely went up more than 49. Okay, yeah. So it's just not, maybe it hasn't synced yet. Um, so this is saying our coverage was 47.6, but when I go to coveralls now, it's saying that our coverall is 49.4. So we increased coverage by like 2% just by ignoring all the Jetpack Compose previews. Um, so that's pretty cool. Uh, that was fun. So we looked at how we can exclude things from JaCoCo and how we can write a custom lint check to enforce that we do so. Um, I think that's pretty cool. So let's merge this. Um, and I will get this recorded and up on YouTube in the next week. And I think that's it. So unless there's something else anyone else wants to talk about, I think we can probably call it a night there. Thank you all for coming by and supporting this. WebShark, Prince, if you're still here, thank you. Thank you, Chris, for the raid and all of the new followers that came with him. We really appreciate it. Yeah, we are, let's see where we're at now. We are at 695 followers. So 5 more and we hit the big 700. But we'll get there. Yeah. And I'm glad some of y'all could still make it. I know Thursday is not my usual night, but I appreciate that everyone can still make it. Let's see if we've got anyone we can raid tonight. So my usual crowd is probably not. All right, well, you already know. We're gonna go raid my favorite Rocket League coach, McLando. Um, let me just double check if there aren't any other science and tech streamers that are. No, I don't see any other software devs that I follow on right now. So we're gonna go hang out with McLando, um, and I will see you all next Wednesday. So just gotta give this a second to allow me to raid, and awesome. We're gonna head over there, and I'll see you all next week.